Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Today I'll be teaching how to make a tank top. One can never have too many tank tops, so here's another. We went more boho inspired for this one, so there's a simple yet elegant neck detail, and besides that we kept it clean going with singles. So if you're looking for a smaller project, this one goes out to you. Speaking of, this channel is made for you and like-minded crochet lovers. We have hundreds of modern crochet patterns with new patterns weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 100 grams of yarn, and that's only 250 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 6mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you're a heavy or a light sleeper. I am definitely a heavy sleeper. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 3 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, and half double crochet. This tutorial is for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're all going to grab our 6mm hook and start off by making a chain the length that we want this top to be. So starting from about 1 inch underneath our underarm down to where we want it to be. So it can be cropped where our hips are or longer. I want mine to stop at my hips, so I'm going to make a chain that is 12.5 inches or 32 centimeters. So that's going to be a chain 45 for me. And now that we have our chain, we're going to do a single crochet row. Block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. And then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert with a single crochet. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops on our hook. Let's do another single crochet. Into that following chain, pull through 2, and continue putting 1 single crochet into every chain, leaving the last one. We've put 1 single crochet into every chain, leaving the last one. Into that last chain, we're going to do an increase of 3, and this increase is going to be a single, half double, and double crochet all into that same last chain. We're not doing an increase of 3 single crochets because otherwise it'll start to curve. So what we're going to do is into that last chain, insert with a single, and then into that last chain, insert with a half double, so yarn over, insert your hook, pull through all 3, and then a double crochet into there as well. Yarn over, into that same last chain, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we're going to do our row 2, which is just going to be a single crochet row. So no increases and no decreases. Chain 1 and flip your work. So make your way down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last stitch once more so we can increase. So we are back, and I have 1, 2, almost 3 rows all finished up. Into the end of our row 3, we're going to do another increase. So into that last stitch, just like row 1, a single, a half double, and then also a double crochet. And then from here, we're going to do our next even number row, which is just a single crochet row. So chain 1, flip our work, and then 1 single crochet goes into every stitch. We're going to repeat these 2 rows until this portion can stretch from mid-underarm over to the front of our body, right where we want our strap to be. So I'd like for mine to be right about where mid-collarbone is. So I'll meet you back right after an even number row. So my underarm is now finished. I have a total of 10 rows and this width is just about 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters. And now we're going to start working on our neckline. So what we're going to do, since we're along the bottom, is chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 single crochet into every stitch until we have 4 stitches left. Alright, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left, and we're going to close off this row with a decrease of 2 single crochets, leaving the last 2 stitches, and this is for every size. So what we're going to do is insert our hook into that 4th to last stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops, and that is our decrease. Now our following row is going to start with a decrease, so chain 1 and flip your work. To do our decrease again, insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row, pull through into that following stitch, pull through all 3, and continue putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. And then at the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 2, and then we'll decrease together once more. So I've made my way back up with my single crochet row, leaving the last 2 stitches, and we're going to do a decrease again. So into that 2nd to last stitch, pull through, last stitch, pull through all 3. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows, so a single crochet that ends on a decrease of 2, and then another single crochet row that starts with a decrease of 2 until this can stretch over to mid-chest. I'll meet you back right after an odd number row. The decrease portion of my neckline is finished. I have a total of 21 rows and my width is 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters unstretched. We're now about to get started on our middle row, and then we're going to do the increase side for the neckline. So since we should all be along the top, we're going to chain 1, flip our work, and then this middle row isn't going to have any increases or decreases. So just make your way down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. But before we finish up this row, we do want to make sure that we are inserting a stitch marker into that top stitch that we have, just so we know right where the middle is. So go ahead and insert your stitch marker into there. And then at the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 1. My middle row is finished, and I also made my way all the way up with single crochets, leaving that last stitch. Now doing the increase side of our neckline, we're going to be increasing into every row. So into that last stitch that we saved, we're going to do an increase of 2 single crochets. So insert your hook into there with 1, and then into that same stitch with a 2nd single crochet. Now to work our way up to the following row, chain 1 and flip your work. And we're going to start this row with an increase of 2, because on this other side we started with a decrease of 2 and we want it to be mirrored. So into that first stitch, 1 single crochet, and then into that same first stitch, a 2nd single crochet, and continue putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. From here, we're going to continue to repeat these 2 rows until we have the same amount of rows as the decrease side of our neckline, but making sure that we're not including that middle row. I will meet you back when we have the same amount of rows, and then we can get started on the underarm. The increase side of my neckline is all finished. Now we're going to finish off the front panel with our underarm. Since we should all have ended along the top, we're now going to make a chain of 2, which is the same amount of stitches that we skipped when we got started on our neckline. And this is going to be the same for everyone. So chain 1, chain 2, and then we're going to do a single crochet row back down. So block off that last chain and do a chain 1 and flip your work. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the 2nd chain from our hook, insert with a single crochet, and then put 1 single crochet into every stitch until you reach the end of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 3 so we can decrease together. I've made my way all the way back up with my single crochet row, leaving the last 3 stitches, so now we're going to do a decrease of 3 single crochets. So how we're going to do that is insert our hook into that 3rd to last stitch, pull through, into that 2nd to last stitch, pull through, and then into that last stitch and pull through. When we have those 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, and that is our decrease. And from here, we're going to do a decrease into every other row. So chain 1, flip our work, and the following row will not have a decrease. So put 1 single crochet into every stitch. From here, we're going to continue to repeat these 2 rows. So a single crochet row that ends on a decrease of 3 single crochets, and then a single crochet row until we have the same amount of rows as underarms that we started this front panel off with. When we do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back to get started on the back panel. I have just finished up the entirety of my front panel. I have a total of 43 rows, and my width is 11 inches or 28 centimeters unstretched. We're about to get started on the back panel, and that's going to start with the same amount of chains that we made for our front panel. So for those of you that have my numbers, I made a total chain of 45 for my front panel, and I will now make another chain of 45 for my back panel. And now that we have our chain, we're going to do a single crochet row. Block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. And we're going to do a single crochet row just like the front panel. So put 1 single crochet into every chain, leaving the last. We have put 1 single crochet into every chain, and we're going to do another single crochet, half double, and double crochet increase, so just like the front panel. So into that same chain, start with your single crochet, then half double and double crochet into the same last chain. And we're going to need to increase into the following row as well. So start with a chain 3 and flip your work. Now doing increases into the even number rows, same rules apply for our increase. It will be an increase of 3, but now since we're working down towards our single crochets, it's going to be a double, half double, single, and then single all the way down. So we're going to yarn over. Into that last stitch from our previous row, insert with 1 double crochet. Into that same first stitch, a half double crochet, and then into that same stitch, 1 single crochet. From here, continue to repeat these 2 rows till the work can stretch from mid-underarm over to the base of your neck. It doesn't need to touch the base of your neck, but it does need to be aligned with the edge of the base of your neck. And we must beat back right after an even number row. So the underarm portion for my back is all finished up. Again, I have a total of 10 rows for this underarm portion, so my width is still 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters unstretched. But if you have more underarm rows for your back panel than you have for your front panel, that is completely fine as well. This is more about the sizing than getting the numbers right. But once we have this underarm portion, what we're going to do is just do single crochet rows that work across our back from the base of our neck over to the other side of the base of our neck. So all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet into every stitch, making our way all the way up. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and then another single crochet row. The back panel is not going to have any increases or decreases, so make your way across our back to the other side of the base of our neck, and then I will meet you back along the bottom so that we can finish off the back panel with the second underarm portion. And back with the back portion of my back panel. I have a total of 28 rows, and this width is 7 inches or 18 centimeters, also unstretched. And now we're going to finish this off with our second underarm. So since we're all along the bottom, put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 3. We've put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 3, and now we're going to do a decrease of 3 single crochets. So start by inserting your hook into that third to last stitch, pull through, second to last, pull through, and now that last, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4, and we're going to need to start the following row with a decrease as well, so chain 1 and flip your work. It will be the same decrease, so let's get this started. Insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row, pull through, that following stitch, pull through, and then the stitch right after that, pull through for a total of 4 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through all 4, and then continue putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. We're going to continue to repeat these 2 previous rows, so a single crochet row that ends on a decrease of 3 single crochets, and then our following single crochet row that starts with a decrease of 3, for the same amount of rows that we have for the underarm when we got started with the back panel. When we have the same amount of rows, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. So the entirety of my back panel is all finished. I have a total of 38 rows, and my width is 10 inches or 25 centimeters, unstretched of course. And now we're going to get started on the chest detail within the front panel, so let's switch out our panels. So we're all going to start by inserting our hook into the top corner stitch of the front panel, and we're going to do a single crochet row first. All that's going to be is 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then 1 single crochet into every side row until we reach this top corner over here. And we do want to make sure that we are reinserting our stitch marker into that middle row as well. So let's do this together. Insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now we should have 2 stitches to begin with, because remember we skipped 2 stitches when we got started on our neckline. So find that first stitch, insert your hook with 1 single crochet, and then into that following with another single crochet. Now to find our first side row, this is mine right over here. We're going to find that top loop, which this is mine. I'm going to insert my hook in through there with 1 single crochet. Let's do that again. In through my following side row, this is mine right here. Find that top loop and single crochet. And that's basically it. Continue doing this until we reach the other top corner, making sure that we are inserting our stitch marker into that stitch once when we reach it. Now that our single crochet row is finished, let's get started on our first netting row. So let's all start with a chain 2 and flip our work. That first chain 2 does count as a stitch, and we're actually going to chain 1 extra for a total of 3 chains. That last chain is going to count as a chain. We're now going to yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet. We're going to skip that first stitch from our previous row because that chain 2 that we made when we started off this row counts as our first half double crochet, which is this stitch. And we're also going to skip that following stitch as well. So we're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then half double crochet into that third stitch. So yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And this forms our first chain space. Let's do another. We're going to chain 1, yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet, skip that first stitch, and then into that following, a half double. And once more, just for good measure, chain 1, yarn over, skip that following stitch, and then half double crochet into the following. And we're going to continue this until we are 2 stitches right before our middle stitch. So I've made my way down with my netting. We should have 2 stitches available right before that middle stitch or that stitch marker stitch. So what we're going to do is chain 1, skip that following stitch, so kind of like how we've been doing, and then into that following stitch, that middle stitch, and then the stitch right after that, we're going to half double crochet 3 together. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker for now, but make sure that you keep an eye on that middle stitch. We're going to yarn over, like I said, skip that following stitch, insert your hook into that following stitch, pull through the first 2. We're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that following stitch, which should have been our middle stitch, pull through 2, and then once more into that following stitch, yarn over, insert, pull through 2. When we have those 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4 of those loops. And now that our half double crochet 3 together is finished, we're going to insert our stitch marker back into that stitch so we know where the middle is. Then we're going to continue on with our netting. So chain 1, yarn over, skip the following stitch, and then half double crochet into the next, and continue this until we don't have any more stitches left. Now that our first netting row is finished, we're going to do a half double crochet row right after. So start with a chain 2 and flip your work. We're going to be putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch, and then we're going to do another half double crochet 3 together at the middle. So just to do the first one, we're going to yarn over into that chain space that we have. So I just like to insert my hook into that entire gap, pull through all 3, And then we're going to find that stitch for our following half double crochet and insert your hook in through there as well. And that's it. Continue putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch and chain space until we are 1 stitch right before our middle stitch. I've made my way down with my half double crochets, and now we're going to do another half double crochet 3 together into the stitch right before that middle stitch and the stitch right after that middle stitch. So I'm going to take this out for now. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that following stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, insert your hook into that middle stitch, pull through the first 2, and then yarn over, insert your hook into that following stitch, pull through the first 2. From there, we're going to yarn over, pull through all 4, and remember to insert your stitch marker into the top of that stitch so we know where the middle is, and then continue putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch. So our half double crochet row is finished, and we're going to do another row of netting. So let's all start with a chain 2. That's going to be our first stitch. After that chain 2, we're going to chain an extra, so 3 in total. That last chain is going to count as a chain, and we're going to flip our work. So just like how we did our first netting row, we're going to yarn over, skip that first stitch because that chain 2 counts as that stitch. We're going to skip that following stitch as well, and then we're going to half double crochet into that following. So yarn over, skip 1, skip 2, and then half double crochet into the following. And then just to do the next one, we're going to chain 1, yarn over, skip that following stitch, half double crochet into that next stitch, and we're going to continue this until we have 2 stitches right before our stitch marker left. Now I've made my way down with my netting. I have 1, 2 stitches right before our stitch marker, and we're going to do another half double crochet 3 together. So chain 1, yarn over, skip that following stitch into that next stitch, which is the stitch right before our middle stitch, insert, pull through 2, take out this stitch marker stitch, and then into that stitch, pull through 2, and then into that following, pull through 2, pull through all 4, and then remember to insert your stitch marker back into that stitch. And then continue on with our netting. So chain 1, yarn over, skip that following stitch, and then into the one right after a half double crochet, and continue to do our netting until we reach the end of the row. Our 4th row for our chest detail is finished, and we're going to do another netting row. So we're going to start with a chain 2. That does count as our first stitch. Chain 1 extra. That counts as a chain, and flip our work. And from here, yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet. And we're going to half double crochet into the top of our previous row's half double crochet. So we're going to skip 1, which is that chain space, and then insert into that top loop with a half double crochet. Let's do that again. Chain 1, yarn over, skip that chain space, and then into the top of that following stitch, half double. And we're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way down. And we do want to make sure that we're still inserting our stitch marker into that middle stitch, so I will meet you back once we're about to half double crochet into that stitch. So I've done my netting, and we're about to do our following one. So chain 1, half double crochet, and then into that middle stitch, insert with a half double crochet. And don't forget to insert your stitch marker into the top of that stitch. And then we're going to continue on with our netting per usual. So chain 1, skip a stitch, and then into that following stitch, a half double crochet till we reach the end of the row. So that netting row is all finished, and we're going to do another half double crochet row, just like our previous one. So let's all start with a chain 2, and then flip our work. We're going to put 1 half double crochet into every chain space and stitch until we are 1 stitch right before our stitch marker stitch. So yarn over, find that first stitch, and insert with a half double crochet. And that's it. We have half double crochet down, and we have left 1 stitch right before our stitch marker stitch. Now we're going to half double crochet 3 together again. So take out your stitch marker, yarn over into that following stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, following stitch, pull through pull through 2, and then yarn over, insert, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 4, and then continue putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch. But before we get too far down, we are going to insert our stitch marker into that middle stitch that we made. And now that this half double crochet row is finished, we are all done with our chest detail. So I did do a chain up of 1 and cut. And now we're ready to seam our front and back panel together. So let's place our front panel on top of our back panel. We're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and then do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now we're going to single crochet our front and back panel together. So let's insert our hook into that next stitch into the front panel, into the next stitch into the back panel, and then single crochet them together. Again, insert your hook into that next stitch into the front panel, next stitch into the back panel, and then single crochet. And that's it. We're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. And when we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then repeat on the other side. And now that everything is all seamed together, we're going to start working on our straps. So first things first, make sure that our work is flipped right side out, and we're going to be inserting our hook into the top corner stitch of the back panel. Insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through. Now from here, we're going to make a chain that can reach up and over our shoulder that can reach the corner stitch within the front panel. I've already measured mine out. I need a total of 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. So I'm going to start by making a chain 13. Now that we have our chain, we're going to single crochet it into the top corner stitch of the front panel. And then we're going to single crochet across the top of our front panel. So just put 1 single crochet into every stitch. And now that we have single crocheted across the top of our front panel, we're going to make the same chain that we made on this side. So I made a chain 13, so I'm about to make another chain 13, and then single crochet into the top corner stitch of the back panel. We're going to single crochet it into that top corner stitch within the back, and then working across the top of our back panel, we're going to put 1 single crochet into every side row. So as an example, this is my following side row. I'm going to find that top loop and insert my hook into there with a single. My following side row, insert my hook into there with another single. And continue doing this, making our way all the way across, and then slip stitch into that chain space, then do a chain up of 1 and cut. But before we do a chain up of 1 and cut, we want to make sure that this can fit over our head and also fit on our body nicely. This row that we're doing is going to be as wide as the neck hole can stretch. So if it's a little bit too tight, redo some chains with a looser grip, or you can add more chains, or if it's a little too loose, redo some chains with a tighter grip, or do fewer chains. We just want to make sure that it can fit around our head, but also fit comfortably underneath our underarm as well. But when it fits, go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut. We have just finished up going in with our straps. Everything fits nicely, so now we're just going to clean up our armholes and then we'll be all done. So we're all going to start by making sure that our work is flipped right side up, right side out, and then we're going to insert our hook into the stitch that we have that's nearest to our side seam. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and making sure that we are using a medium to loose grip when we're doing this, we're going to single crochet all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So let's do the first one together. This is my first side row. I'm going to find that top loop and insert my hook. I do want to weave in my tail ends as I go, so I'm going to place my tail ends over my hook, and then I'm going to single crochet around everything. Let's do the next one. This is my following side row. So insert your hook in through that top loop and then single crochet. So we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row, 1 single crochet into every chain, and then once we reach our chest detail, we have a bunch of side half double crochets to work into. We're going to be putting 2 single crochets into each of those. So I will meet you back once we reach our side half double crochets. So I've made my way to my first side half double. All I'm going to do is insert into that top loop with 2 single crochets. Pretty easy. Let's do the next one. This is my following, so insert your hook into there with 2 singles, and that's basically it. Continue doing this, making our way all the way up and over. Slip stitch into that chain space, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then repeat on the other side. Now that we have cleaned up our armholes, we are all done. The last thing we're going to have to do is weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!